everyone and welcome back to some more Godtear coverage for the channel, and today we're doing a new scenario that's not in the rulebook called Construction. And if you want to try this for yourself, it is available on the Steamforge website at time of recording in beta version 1 form. So if you're watching this long after the fact, it's very possible the final version of this, in whatever form it does take, could be different to what you're seeing here today. But this is a free scenario they've just made available. They want some feedback on it, and it seemed like quite an interesting one. As you can already tell, it starts with a lot of god tiers on the battlefield, and the gimmick for this one is that the loser of a round picks 2 different hexes to put another god tier on top of the one that's already there, and then if a banner survives on a built up hex to the end of the round, it's worth extra steps on the ladder based on the number of extra god tier tiles that are there. So for instance, if this one here was built up, it would be worth 1 extra step if it had a banner on it, or this one. And across rounds, I think, not 100% sure, I think you can keep building up squares that already have, or hexes that already have a new god tier on them. You just can't do it in the same end phase, because it does specify different god tiers. Beyond that, you have 2 hexes from either side to deploy in from, and both teams, their icons on the ladder start 1 closer to the center than normal. Pretty simple. That's about it. I think this is going to be a very massive banner focused scenario, which is fine because I don't think any of the other ones really super focus on that. So this will be high scoring, but one team will still come out on top in terms of whose banners are worth more. On that note, let's take a look at who's being used today. So we have these lovely coloured base toppers now to differentiate the 2 sides, to hopefully just make watchability better, because you'll be able to tell at a glance who's on what team. So this is our blue team this time, and this setup is a very specific setup. I've been playing some tabletop games of Godtear against a friend. I've won 1, he's won 1, and we've yet to play the decider, but we've drafted our teams, and this is the team I drafted. So I want to get some practice in to see how they work together to give me a little bit of an edge, but don't tell him. So we're bringing from left to right, new champion on the table, Styx. Styx is a shaper who wants to put down his banner, get some bonus points for that. He's joined by 2 large followers, they're called Abyssal Hounds, and you'd think looking at him he's focused on murder, but he isn't really, although his ultimate does just kill someone once a game for no steps on the ladder. Then we have Half-Tusk. I think Half-Tusk is just one of the strongest Guardian type champions, so that's why I brought him. And then we have Titus, who I think is also one of the strongest Maelstrom champions. So Half-Tusk wants to put his banner down and keep it down for the entire turn. Titus wants to go murder other followers on the opposing team. Speaking of which, let's go take a look at red team. And here we are. So going from left to right for the red team, we have Mournblade and his Nightshades. We have Shale and Landslide, of course, his big follower type as well. And then finally we have the Slayer champion Sneaky Pete and his Sneaky Stabbers. So Pete wants to go kill enemy champions. Shale wants to put down his banner and then gets bonus steps for doing so. And Mournblade wants to have his banner down for the entire turn. He's also a Guardian type like Half-Tusk. I did forget to mention the specific names of the followers for Half-Tusk and Titus, just in case you weren't familiar. Half-Tusks are called Froglodytes and Tituses are called Glory Seekers. But here we just have Landslide, the Nightshades, and Sneaky Stabbers. Super simple. So we'll get set up and we'll give construction a try. Alright, we have both teams set up. Blue team won the roll and is opting to go first in round 1, so it starts 1 in their favour. They'll be doing their plot phase first, but it also means that the red team will be getting final activation, so that might swing the ladder in their favour. We'll see. So at the bottom of your screen is Team Red. Sneaky Pete and his Stabbers are on the left, then we have Mournblade and his Nightshades, and then finally Shale and Landslide to the right, all lining up to go plant banners. And then at the very tippy top of your screen from left to right, we have the Abyssal Hounds, we have Styx, we have the Glory Seekers, Titus, Half-Tusk, and his Froglodytes. So with that, jumping into the first round, starting with plot phase, Team Blue. So for Team Blue's plot phase, the Glory Seekers went first and used Roar Battle. They can pick 1 champion within 2 hexes and move them 1 hex. They moved Styx forwards 1, and then for the other action they just moved, they can move 2 in the plot phase and did so to the squares, or the hexes rather, you can see them in. Then Titus went and he just moved up 2. He could have put his banner down on the god tier he's right next to. He is saving that for Half-Tusk though, because it's more important that Half-Tusk's banner survives to the end of the turn. So he didn't do his second action, he's just moving up. He wants to get close and murder, so he can't really do anything yet anyway. So then Styx activated, he moved forwards 2, and thanks to that extra space of movement from the Glory Seekers, he was able to then do a claim action to plant his banner on a God tier, normally worth just 1, but because he's a Shaper, that is 2 steps on the ladder. His Abyssal Hounds then used Pack Hunters, move each Abyssal Hound that's within 4 hexes of Styx up to 2, and then they did a movement action. So in total they moved 4 hexes each, so they're very fast. So they've kept up with their boss to the left of the God tiers though, because they obviously can't stand in them. But that's them done for the plot phase. And to end off Team Blue's plot phase, Half Tusk moved up 2, did a claim action to put down his banner there for 1 step on the ladder. The Froglodytes moved up 2 as well, and then used Hop. You can place them within 2, and their special tier twisted means that they can stand on objective hexes, because normally followers can't, but they can, so they're doing a little bit of blocking and intimidating by walking onto the God tier in front of where Half Tusk has put down his banner, which means that it's a little bit more blocked. So now we go to the plot phase for the red team. So Mournblade kicked things off, he moved up 2 and then did a claim action to put down his banner for 1 step on the ladder for Team Red. His Nightshades moved up 2 and then used Careful Master, it's a range 3, and it gives Mournblade a dodge buff. Again, just showing the buffs on the table, but then they'll be on the cards in between shots, just to show where they've been applied. Shale moved up 2 and did a claim action to put the banner there for 2 steps, because he is a Shaper, and because of the Runecaller I think it is, when he moves, as long as Landslide is within 3, he gets to move 2, and that's exactly what he did. He doesn't have any natural movement in the plot phase though, so he's just basically wasting his turn right next to Shale and doing nothing else. And finally, thanks to his slightly faster than normal movement in the plot phase of 3, Sneaky Pete was able to go up to the left of Mournblade there and do a claim action, putting his banner down here just in case it's out of view, only for 1 step, but that does actually tilt the ladder in Team Red's favour by 1, thanks to them getting that extra banner down. And then his Sneaky Stabbers just followed up behind him, also moving 3. They didn't have anything else they could really do because they don't want to go too far in, because they do die easy if they're picked off. So that is it for the plot phase. We're now going into the clash phase with Team Blue picking the first activation. So Styx got the clash phase started, activated, and moved 2 to the right. Her movement, or his movement, whoever's Grim Reaper, their movement stays 2 no matter what the phase. So moved right 2 hexes and then made use of Apparition. You pick an objective hex, aka a God tier, within 3 hexes and then move it 1 towards Styx. Any models on the hex move with the hex. So he picked the objective hex where Sneaky Pete's banner was and moved it 1 towards where he had ended up, putting it within smushing range of Titus. First up for Team Red was Shale. He moved up 2 to stand in front of his banner just to protect it a little bit more, and again his Runecaller passive kicked in, so Landslide was allowed to move even though he hasn't activated yet. And then for Shale's other action, he used Stone Spikes. You pick an enemy within 3 hexes, roll 5 hit dice. If it hits, you reduce their movement, and he used it on the Froglodytes. So as a little addendum before we go into the Froglodytes' turn, because they're who activated next, when Shale did his claim action, that was completing another action, so Landslide could have moved forwards again, so he opted to move 1 more forwards rather than 2, which would have put him adjacent to the Froglodytes to perhaps smack them, but they were activating anyway, so ultimately it's not going to matter, but Landslide is 1 more to the left than he was before. So the Froglodytes hopped 2 to the right, to where you can just see them in front of Shale, and the reason Shale is moved is because they used Tongue Lash on him. 7 dice to hit, and if they hit, move 1 target, 1 hex towards the Froglodyte. So Shale is now in front of them. Sneaky Pete activated, and from where he stood he used Annoy, range 3, 5 dice to hit, and if he hits he can move the target 2 hexes towards him. He did it on Styx. Styx has dodge 4, still managed to get the hit, and as a result Styx has been moved right into his face, which allowed him to get within backstab range. Range 1, 5 dice to hit, 5 dice for damage. But if it hits, it also just does 1 true wound. It did hit, it did the 1 true wound, but despite Styx only having 2 defense, the damage roll was not as good, and no other damage. Styx has 6 health in total, so he's down to 5 now. Half Tusk was up next for Team Blue. He has movement 2 in the clash phase, so he did that to get between Shale and Landslide. Then used 1 punch, 6 dice to hit and 4 dice for damage. He wanted to do that because Shield's got pretty good dodge of 4, so the 6 dice would make all the difference. Sadly, the damage roll is only 4 dice and Shield has 2 armor. Still managed to get 1 wound through, and because he landed the hit with 1 punch, he gets to use 2 punch for free. It's only 4 dice accuracy though, so he needed to beat dodge 4 on 4 dice to then roll I think 5 or 6 for damage. He couldn't get past the dodge on that one, sadly. So overall, just 1 of Shield's 5 health there. The Sneaky Stabbers activated for Team Red, and from where they are, they don't actually have an attack in the clash phase, as weird as that is. They used Irritate, and that's 7 dice to hit, which they did on sticks. Easily landed the hit, which gave him a accuracy blight, so 1 less accuracy dice the next time he rolls attack dice, or hit dice I should say. They then move back just 1. They want to make sure they're out of Abyssal Hound range and potential Titus range, but they don't want to go too far from their boss because they give him extra accuracy dice for being adjacent to his target. They can also move through targets, characters, because normally you can't do that. But that's all they're doing this turn, just applying the blight. The Abyssal Hound's activated, but sadly they can't really do much this turn. If they're ever adjacent, both of them have to be adjacent, but if they're both adjacent to the same enemy banner, they can, as an action, tear down the banner without having to walk onto it, which is pretty nice. From where they are, though, a bit of a misplay. They can move 2 in the clash phase, and they did so, but they only have range 1 for their attack. Which is a good attack if it lands, but can't do anything else this turn. Landslide was up next for Team Red, although I did forget during Half Tusk's turn, I forgot that his Fighting Fit passive kicks in if he's at full health, where he should have been getting 2 extra accuracy die. Too late to go back. The first hit landed fine anyway, so it doesn't make any difference to that. I don't remember it would have made a difference to the 2 punch. It may have done, but too late to go back now. So for Landslide's turn, he can't move in this phase. He can't move at all unless Shield moves him. So he started by doing a Boulder Bash, 6 dice accuracy, 6 dice damage, onto Half Tusk. The hit landed, which means he has a dodge blight, so that'll be applied to him in a second, but the damage roll was fully blocked on his 3 armor. Landslide then tried to use Earthquake, target a follower or a champion within 2, 4 accuracy dice, and then if you land the hit, you can move them 2 hexes. He tried to do that on the Froglodytes, and they dodged with their dodge of 3, I believe. 2 actually, 2. It was not a good roll. Simple activation for the Glory Seekers. They move 2 hexes down through that gap there between the Godtears to try and help out Styx. They can't cross the Godtears, so they don't really have much else of a choice. They can't do any buffs in this phase either, so their other action is just going wasted. Second last activation for Team Red in the first round was Mornblade. He moved up to the hex, you can see him in there, which put him within range 3 to do a Soul Cleave on Half Tusk. Range 3, 5 dice for accuracy, 5 dice for damage. If the hit is successful, he can make a recruit action for his Nightshades, although that obviously isn't required because none of them are dead. He managed to land the hit on Half Tusk and get him for 2 damage, so at present, remembering the passive on him isn't going to matter because he's not at full health. So the last activation for Team Blue was Titus standing behind Styx there. He moved up 2 to crush Sneaky Pete's banner, but thanks to them getting 1 point ahead on the ladder, it doesn't make a difference. Did consider burning his ult turn 1, but for the 1 point round, the round that's worth only a single point, didn't seem worth it. It seemed better to hold on to it. He only has range 1 on his attacks, so he can't do anything else this turn, but he destroyed the banner if nothing else. Not much to see for the Nightshades to end off the first round. They only move 1 in the clash phase. They did so to the right, then they used Depths of Sorrow to give themselves an accuracy boon. And that takes us to how the steps on the ladder play out in the end phase when all the banners proc their points. So at the end of the first round, the ladder is won in the favour of Team Red already, but we'll just show what happens with the banners just because. Both sides have 2 banners down, both sides have a Guardian banner down, so that's 1 extra point for each of those. So it essentially balances out perfectly at a total of 9 points per side. Normally you would do the maths, apply the difference to the ladder, but in this instance it all cancels out. If Sneaky Pete's banner had stayed on the table, that would have been an entirely different thing. It would have been 4 in favour, but it doesn't matter because if we just come over here real quickly, you can see the ladder to the left of your screen now. It's already just by 1, thanks to Sneaky Pete putting down his banner actually, in the favour of Team Red, so they claim the 1 victory point for the first turn. And then we go into the second turn and construction comes into play and Team Blue will be building up 2 Godtears. So as we start the second round that's worth 2 points, Team Blue is electing to go first, so we'll be going into their plot phase in a second. all banners have been removed, and we're going to show via construction which two god tiers they are building up. A second god tier is going on this tile, making it worth one more step if it has a banner at the end of the turn, and perhaps surprising no one, this god tier is now also worth an extra point if it has a banner on it. That applies to any team. Like if one of the red team gets to that back line and leaves their banner on there for the rest of the turn, they get the bonus as well, but obviously it's in the losing team's favour. So first up in the plot phase for Team Blue was Styx and his Abyssal Hounds. Styx as a free action used Hour is Nigh. It says you can use it as a bonus action. You pick an enemy champion, or enemy model actually, it can be followers, within 2 hexes, and you just give them a defense blight. So he did that to Sneaky Pete. That's not really what you want to take out for him. You want to try and dent that dodge 5 of his, but it does put him at armor 0, so there is that. Then he moved 2 as his first action, and then as his second actual action did a claim to put down his banner right here on the built up hex, probably surprising no one, scoring 2 points because he's a Shaper champion on the ladder, and there will be a bonus point if that banner lasts till the end of the turn. The Abyssal Hounds, they moved forwards 2 to where you can see them at the bottom of your screen there. They tried to howl at the Sneaky Stabbers, range 2, 5 dice for accuracy. If it landed the hit, it would have applied a accuracy blight, but couldn't get past their dodge 5. So next the Glory Seekers activated. They once again used Roar Battle, except this time they used it on Titus to move him forwards 1 hex. They then moved 2 hexes to where you can see them. The hex of 3 of them are adjacent to Sneaky Pete and his Stabbers. The other 2 are kind of just backing them up. Then for Titus's turn, he did a claim action for 1 step on the ladder on the god tier behind him. You can just about make out the yellow flag there. Then he used Challenge. You pick an enemy within 2 hexes, you give them 2 blights of your choice, and then the enemy gives Titus 1 blight of their choice. So he gave Sneaky Pete in an attack and a dodge blight, and in return he got an accuracy blight. Surprising no one, because it's very hard to land hits on Sneaky Pete and his Stabbers. And then finally for the plot phase for Team Blue, Half Tusk activated, moved left 2 hexes, did a claim action on the other god tier that got built up. Still only worth 1 point at present on the ladder, or 1 step. So it's moved that. And then the Froglodytes, they did a movement action. They only moved 1 of the potential 2. They're behind Half Tusk, so it's a little hard to make them out. Then they made use of Hop. You can place each of them within 2 of where they are. Only 1 of them moved to the left of Half Tusk that you can see there, and that's just to kind of block off his banner a little bit. So over to the plot phase for the red team. They went with Sneaky Pete and the Sneaky Stabbers. First, Pete put his banner down there for 1 step and then moved his 3 up here, so he is threatening Half Tusk's banner in the clash phase. The Sneaky Stabbers, they tried to attack, they used Let Me Do It, however because they're all on the same hex, they argue when they do it, so the more of them there are in the hex, the less accuracy dice they get, but the more damage dice they get. It was only 3, they tried to get through, the dodged 3 on the Glory Seekers, rolled goose eggs, all blanks. So then they retreated, did a movement action, they could move up to 3, they only moved 1 because they want to partially block Sneaky Pete's banner from the dogs potentially ripping it to shreds. And we're over to this angle because Mornblade and his Nightshades activated. Mornblade plopped his banner down there with a claim action for 1 step on the ladder. Then he used forward minions. As long as his Nightshades are within 4, he can move them 2. He did so, which I think put them there. And then for their actual actions, they moved 2. It's a bit awkward to see, but they're up there. They're not adjacent to Half Tusk, they're adjacent to the 2 Froglodytes, and also next to Shield to back them up a little bit. They didn't do anything else with their unused second action though. And then finally for the plot phase of the second round, Shiel and Landslide activated. Shiel moved back 1 hex, put down his banner for a total of 2 steps on the ladder because he's a Shaper. Landslide opted not to move because he's blocking Mornblade's banner, so he doesn't really want to get out of range of it. That said, he used Earthquake, didn't really expect it to land because it's only 4 dice accuracy. He did it on Half Tusk. It worked, so he's allowed to move him. So is it up to 2 hexes? It is up to 2 hexes, yeah. So he's only been moved 1 hex. That means he does threaten Mornblade's banner from where he is, but it means he's away from Sneaky Pete. He's in attack range for Landslide and Shale, and probably won't get to Sneaky Pete's banner. So that might not be the best option. The best option might have been to just leave him where he was, but he's moved him. We'll see how it goes. So we're into the clash phase for the second round, and Titus was the first activation for Team Blue, and he showed why he can be very scary. He moved 2 as his first action, so he crushed Sneaky Pete's banner, which would have put him on here. Then for his second action, he used his ultimate, his once per game, called Path of Destruction. He can do a skill, he can move 1 hex, and he can do another skill. So within that, we've got a lot to break down. He started with a sweeping slash. It's 6 dice accuracy, 5 dice damage. He can target 2 different models on 2 different hexes. So he targeted Mornblade and the Sneaky Stabbers. He hit Mornblade first to get rid of that accuracy debuff he had, the Blight. Ended up not doing any damage to Mornblade, that's fine. He managed to kill one of the Sneaky Stabbers with that. He then moved 1 hex to the one you can see him on, and did his other skill called Piercing Strike. Single hex, 5 dice accuracy, 6 dice damage, but you can target 2 models in the hex. So obviously he targeted the 2 other Sneaky Stabbers, and those 6 dice accuracy got past that 5 block dodge, and took them both out for, in total, normally that would just be 3, because he is a Maelstrom, he gets +1 for each of them, so he just got 6 steps on the ladder and wiped the Sneaky Stabbers out. Now they'll still get an activation, they can do recruit actions and come back around Sneaky Pete, but yeah, he wiped them out. That's his once per game gone though, and it's over to Team Red for their first activation in the clash phase. So Sneaky Pete activated first to make sure he got the job done before anyone else tried to stop him. He walked onto Half-Tusk's banner, destroying it, so the fact that that's a built-up objective hex now doesn't matter for this round, at least. For his other action, he tried to backstab the lone Froglodyte in front of him, that you can see on the table there, using up his damage dice debuff he had on him to get rid of that. He did a backstab, 5 dice accuracy, normally 5 dice for damage, brought down to 4 because of that blight, and as a result, the 3 armor on the Froglodyte took the hits, so did not kill him. Half-Tusk activated, and yeah, it was a bit of a silly thing for Landslide to move him, because no matter which side he moved him to, it would have ended badly. He moved 2 for his first action, and crushed, from where he was standing, 1-2, crushed the banner that Mornblade had put down. Then he used 1 punch, 6 dice accuracy, no extra dice because he's not at full health, 4 dice for damage, but Mornblade only has 1 HP, so he actually did manage to take him down. 1 hit got through, which is exactly enough. He is knocked back 2, placed prone until he does a rally. Mornblade though, because of his Undying passive, he's only worth 1 step on the ladder instead of 4, so only 1 gained, and if anybody goes to, actually does it specify it has to be an enemy? Let me just check. When an enemy, yes, if any enemy this round is killed, he gets a free rally action outside of his turn and can come back. So not too terrible, but still bad. Oh, and also because he hit 1 punch, he could do a free 2 punch. Doesn't say it has to hit the same person, so he hit Landslide there, but didn't get through his defense 4. So right up in the backfield there, the Nightshade's activated in order to try and bring back Mornblade without him wasting an action. You can't even really see who they were attacking. Maybe turn Landslide to the side there. They were attacking the hex with 2 of the 3 Froglodytes on it. They used Death's Door, 5 dice accuracy, 5 dice for damage. It gets bonus dice if you do a recruit action in the turn prior, but they didn't. And they managed to kill one of them outright for 1 step on the ladder. That's the Froglodyte removed, although they can always bring them back with a recruit. And Mornblade got back up. So you can't quite see him, but he's on his feet on the hex he was pushed back onto when he got taken down, and he will get an activation where he gets his full 2 actions. Oh, and I did forget to mention for the Nightshade's other action, they used Depth of Sorrow to give themselves an accuracy boon. They didn't do that first because they were fairly confident they could hit the Froglodyte, so they did it afterwards, so it will apply to their next attack. The Froglodytes were up next for the blue team, didn't do much. They moved 3 in the clash phase though, so they consolidated onto that hex next to Titus there. They didn't do anything else with their other action. They could have done a recruit action, but it has to appear on a hex around Half-Tusk, and there's no safe hex around Half-Tusk. It would essentially just be giving a free step on the ladder to whoever goes out their way to kill them. At least if the 2 of them just stay there, they have to be hunted down. Mornblade, with his full complement of 2 actions, activated. He moved 1 hex to the right just to put some distance between himself and Titus, because Titus is scary. Then he used Soul Cleave, range 3, 5 dice accuracy, 5 dice damage. Did it on Half-Tusk, landed the hit, but was not able to get through his 3 armor, unfortunately. Styx's Abyssal Hounds activated. They moved to this direction to where you can see them, and then didn't do anything with their other action, but did make use of their drag passive. So when they finish moving, you can pick up to 2 small followers within 2 of them and move them 1. So of the original cluster of 3 that were there, they've moved 1 over here. The other 2 actually should not have been able to move yet. Forgot about that because they're too far away, because that's 1, 2, yeah, that's 3 hexes. So of the square that originally had 3, 2 of those small followers have been moved for free as part of the drag action, and that still means the Glory Seekers can activate and can consolidate further to the south of the map. The Sneaky Stabbers activated, and what can you do really when you've been wiped out to a man? So they did a recruit action to bring back 1 next to their boss Sneaky Pete, as you can see to his right. Although actually they could then make use of Sneak. Oh wait, no, that basically just removes 1 and puts 1 down, so sadly not. They can only bring 1 back this turn, so their turn's essentially wasted. The Glory Seekers activated and just continued moving to the right. They did stay as 2-1-2, not going into a 3 and a 2 situation, because they're nowhere near where they need to be right now thanks to not being able to walk through objective hexes. Shale activated, and the only thing he did with his turn was use Stone Spikes, range 3, 5 dice. If it lands the hit, movement blight, which is put onto Half Tusk. He's staying where he is and isn't doing anything else. His banner is safe, so it is going to last to the end of turn. Landslide opted not to move. He's going to stay where he is and smack Half Tusk during his turn, I think. So I wish I'd thought of this sooner. Styx is the last activation this clash phase for the blue team. He stepped to the side, his banner is safe, and is going to get that extra step for being built up with the construction rules. He then used Apparition again as a free action. Oh, actually no, it's not a free action, but he didn't do anything else. So he moved that 1 hex there. That was prior to him. Actually no, it wasn't prior to him moving, because then it wouldn't have been on top of him. I presume you're allowed to move it to the side like that, because it says towards him, but you can't put an objective hex on an objective hex through normal means. So I presume that's okay. If it's not, sorry. It does create this nice through line here though, if the Glory Seekers decide to go there. So now it's over to Landslide to end off the clash phase. Well, Landslide did what he had to do. He only did 1 action. It was Boulder Bash, 6 dice accuracy, 6 dice damage. On Half Tusk, it did 5, which was exactly enough. The poor Half Tusk is down, so he's got pushed back 2 onto this hex here, and that is worth 4 steps on the ladder. And with that, let's go see who's taking the round. So at the end of the second round, the ladder is 3 in favour of Team Blue, but now we have to apply the banners, so we've got some maths to do here. The blue team has 2 banners down, neither of which, sorry, is a Guardian, but one of which is on a raised Godtear, so it's actually worth 1 more, so that's a total of 9. The banner for Shale is down, and that is only worth 4, meaning that it would be an additional 5 steps on the ladder this turn for Team Blue. They didn't need it. If we just come over here to the ladder on the far left here, it would move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, didn't need to. They claim the second round and the 2 victory points it is worth. That means that the red team will be placing 2 built up Godtears as we go into the round 3. It also means if Team Blue wins round 3, they'll take the match. So to start the third round, red team is taking first action, so we'll go to their plot phase in a second, but first of all, additional Godtears get put down. They're putting 1 here, which is simple enough. The one behind Shale there is now worth an extra step if there's a banner on it at the end of a turn. Now, in the rules for construction as they are as we're doing this, it only says you can't put 2 on in this one end phase. It doesn't say anything about not being able to do it on one that's already been built up prior. So the second one they're putting is the hex that Sneaky Pete is standing on, so that is now worth 2 additional steps if there is a banner on it at the end of the turn. With that, we'll go into the plot phase for the red team. So Landslide and Shale were up first. Landslide stayed where he was, Shale stayed where he was, put down his banner, worth 2 steps right now because he's a Shaper champion rather than the normal one, and it will be worth an extra step if it's still there at the end of the turn. He then made use of his passive to move Landslide where you can see him, just to block these hexes a little bit, then used Stone Strength for his other actual action to give him a defense boon. For Landslide's turn, he's doing nothing. He is just there to stay in the way. Mornblade moved 1 over to here and placed his banner for 1 step on the ladder. He's also kind of blocking it. They've got a very nice defensive line here guarding 2 banners. His Nightshades, they only move 1 in the plot phase. They can't move any further because they're not close enough to him. So they just moved 1 hex down to where you can see them there, just coming down to defend this corner as well. Sneaky Pete moved 1 hex to the left and then put down his banner on that massive Godtear that's now worth 2 extra steps. So if his banner is there at the end of a turn, that's 6 steps in total. And then his Sneaky Stabbers, the one that was already on the table, moved up to alongside him, did a recruit action, and now there's 2 there, and they're trying to block Styx's way towards the banner. Half Tusk sadly had to do a rally to get back up on his feet for his first action, so as his other action he used the Great Tusk. He used his once per game ultimate. He can do a claim action within 2 hexes, so he has placed his banner for 1 step right there. Not a great position, but that's what he's done. And then all friendlies within range 2 of him get a boon, either a dodge boon or a defense boon. So the Glory Seekers have defense, Titus has defense. Oh, actually, the Abyssal Hounds are out of range. But the 1, 2, 3, yeah, Sword of the Froggledites. Sadly, it's just Titus and the Glory Seekers. But they've been given some defense boons, and that is him done. Totally forgot to move the Froggledites, actually, come to think of it. So what they're going to do is move 2, 1. Actually, they're just going to move 1, I think, and move. They're definitely doing a rally, and the poor the poor one that's rallying next to Half Tusk is going to block Mornblade from getting to the banner, because that's just the sensible thing to do. The other 2, though, they can't really help, unfortunately. They might be able to in the next phase, though, I suppose. I think they're just going to stay where they are. No, you know what? They're going to move 1 forward so Titus can plant his banner. That's where they're going. Yep, so Titus has moved up 2 to there, plopped his banner back there for 1 step on the ladder. His Glory Seekers have all turned and are now starting to go the other direction, moving 2 up through the gap created by Styx to head towards Sneaky Pete and his stabbers. They didn't really have anything else they could do. Oh, they could move 1 champion within 2, 1 hex actually, which is not a bad idea to move Titus 1 more forwards right there. Because of some poor positioning, the Abyssal Hounds aren't really getting to do much, unfortunately. Styx activated though, put a banner down for 2 steps on the ladder, and that'll be worth an extra 1 if it lasts till the end of a turn. Then move forwards 2, facing down Sneaky Pete. So no matter which way you cut it for the red team, Sneaky Pete's banner ain't lasting, because even if Styx was to go down, Titus can just walk onto it, or vice versa. So there's no stopping that really. So Shale went first instead, because if he moves to where he did, which was 1, 2 right onto here, he crushed Half Tusk's banner, stopping that scoring. He is basically making it impossible for any blue team to make it to his banner. Mornblade's probably not either, so that is securing, 4, 5, 10 points. Yeah, that would be 10 steps on the ladder if they both last. So even though that does kind of leave Sneaky Pete and his banner out to dry a little bit, overall it's still worth more. The only exception would be if Sneaky Pete managed to outright kill Styx, but Styx still has 5 HP, 4 dodge. Not super likely. That might not be the best play, but that's the play that happened. He then tried to use Stone Spikes on Half Tusk just to reduce his movement even further, and managed to miss him on 5 accuracy dice. Well, after a lot of umming and ahhing about who to go with for Team Blue, I think they're going to regret not taking on Styx with Sneaky Pete. He activated, and Styx used his ultimate, called the Reaping. You pick an enemy model within range 2, and they die. Simple as that. It awards no steps on the ladder, however, so it's not as good as it sounds, but he did that, and then he moved on to Sneaky Pete's banner in order to crush it. So Sneaky Pete's been knocked back 2. It is treated as a death. His debuff spoons and whatnot disappear, but it does mean also when he activates he's only getting to do 1 thing instead of 2, which might make all the difference. There's quite the mess in the middle of the battlefield here, but the Mornblades, the Nightshades that belong to Mornblade activated. They were here and did eventually move back 1 hex, which is their movement allowance in the clash phase. But they did Death's Door first, 5 dice accuracy, 5 dice damage on Titus, managed to do 1 damage to him, which isn't too shabby. In case you're wondering why not go with Mornblade and simply raise Sneaky Pete to save Sneaky Pete in activation, since Mornblade is basically just spending his turn blocking banners, it's range 3. He can't just do it from anywhere, so he can't reach Sneaky Pete from where he is. So a bit of a holding pattern activation for Team Blue next. They went with the Froggledites. The Froggledites can't do that much in the clash phase, weirdly, but they just moved. They have movement 3 and consolidated behind Half Tusk there. That is just to try and deny Landslide or Mornblade getting an easy 1 step by killing one of them. It's their best option. There's no benefit to moving a friendly banner right now or trying to move an enemy 1 hex towards them. So, yeah, that's all they're doing. Oh, this could be a crucial turn of events. Red team activated, went with Sneaky Pete, had to rally, get back on his feet for his first action. He then, as his other action, used Pounce, his ultimate. Range 2, 6 dice for accuracy, 6 dice for damage, but before you roll the hit roll you can place him adjacent to his target, and that's why he's right next to Styx. And he whiffed the attack, the accuracy roll. Could not get through Styx's 4 dodge, and as a result the ult has essentially done nothing besides place him next to his sneaky stabbers. If they were one hex forwards, he would have had some bonus accuracy dice. You know what, I'm going to roll one die in the box and see if that would have made a difference, because it would have been +2 or +1. They have +1 accuracy for each sneaky stabber, so unless these are both blank, it would have made a difference. We're going to roll this where you'll see it. Let's just roll them up here. It would have made a difference. It would have landed the hit, so wrong order of operations there, and that could cost the game. Shale and Landslide keep getting in the way, but Titus activated. He moved one step to chase after the Nightshades. Then he used Piercing Strike, 5 dice accuracy, 6 dice damage. He can target 2 followers in the same hex with it. He took out 2 of the Nightshades. They are out of there, and that is worth a total of, well, normally it would be 2 steps, but he gets 1 bonus per kill because he's a Maelstrom champion, so that was worth 4 steps on the ladder for them there. So the Sneaky Stabbers activated as a bit of a holding activation for Team Red. The 2 that were on the table moved to the right, so now they're to Styx's right side and away from the Glory Seekers who could have reached and attacked them. So it's just trying to stop them getting any extra steps. They did a recruit action then after that to bring back their missing 1, so they're back to full strength at 3. So Half-Tusk doesn't want to activate yet, so another just kind of pointless animation, I was going to say there. Activation. Bissell Hounds moved up 2, they're not doing anything else. The same is going to be said for the Glory Seekers when they activate because of the Sneaky Stabbers moving out of range, but they want either Mornblade or Landslide to have to essentially waste a turn or an action before Half-Tusk tries to move in there. Well, there is only those 2 left for Team Red rather. So Mornblade activated, moved forwards 1, and then did a Soul Cleave on Half-Tusk. Did really well actually, kind of the first spike of the game. Did 3 damage to him, and he's allowed to make a recruit action, so there's now another Nightshade back where there was 1 survivor. Second last activation in the clash phase for Team Blue. The Glory Seekers they're just filing up here like a military unit. They're the front 2 could have ended on this hex adjacent to Sneaky Pete. They opted not to, so that if this does go to another round, he'd have to move towards them before he strikes. Well, with Landslide being forced to activate, the only thing he could do was a 4 dice accuracy Earthquake to try and bounce Half-Tusk towards him, so you could then boulder bash him in the face. Oh, you can actually sort of see the roll there. 4 dice, I don't know if that's obvious, there is an entire 1 success, so he missed and is essentially wasting his other action. That means we're just down to Half-Tusk. We can do what he's doing live, because it doesn't really matter unless he lands a decent hit. Who's he more likely to hurt out of Mornblade or Landslide? He only has to get 1 damage through a Mornblade, but he only gets 1 step on the ladder. I could still be crucial though. Yeah, you know what? Let's just do that. Plus he's right there. No point doing his regenerate, although I guess he might as well because 2 punch is a free action. Although he can do it as a not free action. Yeah, we won't bother regenning because he can't regen to full health, so he won't get the extra accuracy dice. So we'll start with 1 punch, 6 accuracy dice, needing to beat 2 dodge or equal. He got 3, so that's a hit. It's only 4 dice for damage though, so we'll just roll these 4, and it's damage -4 because he's got 4 armor, or roll -4. So you hit him for 0, fair enough. Then we'll do 2 punch, 4 dice accuracy, 5 dice for damage, so equal or beat 2, yes. And then 5 dice for damage, so we'll just get an extra die out of there. So it's dice roll -4. He just needs to get 1 through. I'm realising now it's not fully visible. We just have to trust that I am indeed rolling it. Nope, fully blocked it. So it's just down to the banners, and I guess that's kind of the crutch of this construction scenario type. It is down to the banners. So let's see. So as the 3rd round ends, the ladder is 4 steps in Blue Team's favour, but we've got to work out what the banners are. So, Blue Team, they have a Shaper banner on this hex, normally worth 4 because they're a Shaper. Which is just normal, but that hex is built up by 1, so it's worth 5. Titus's is there, that's worth 4, and that's it, because Half-Tusk got destroyed. So that's 9 potential steps to them. Let's see. Shale's banner is down on a built up hex, so it's worth 5. Mornblade's is on a normal hex, but he's a guardian, so it's also worth 5. So they get 10, so the difference is 1. So that only means the ladder moves 1 step in Red's favour for all the banners on the board, which means that it is right smack dab here, 3 in the favour of Blue Team, which means they claim the 3 victory points, giving them 5 in total and taking the win. So here's our winning team. It was the Blue Team win, although there was mistakes on both sides. Should never have moved Half Tusk with Landslide, that definitely cost. Not moving the Sneaky Stabbers before Sneaky Pete did his ult would have made a difference damage wise. For the blue team, the Abyssal Hounds were useless. They were misplaced from the start of the game. They didn't do anything, but that was just down to them being poorly placed. They should have been where the big fights were happening so they could help drag friendly followers in to do more damage. Half Tusk was a bit out to dry a little bit, so whereas Froggledice had to keep on just trying to avoid being killed. Titus did great work. His ult is so ridiculously powerful. A bit OP in my opinion. I think he's probably one of the best Maelstrom champions. He's definitely top 3. But his Glory Seekers, they were kind of screwed a little bit by where the Godtears were. It's kept stopping their direct line of movement, meaning that they couldn't get to their targets. So they didn't do much, but their early turn 1, turn 2 moving other champions, just 1 extra hex, that made a difference as well. Styx is fun, for sure. Didn't really get to do many scythe attacks or anything like that, but being able to apply defense down in the plot phases of free action is great. The ult, if used as a strategic thing, is amazing. It doesn't award steps on the ladder. That doesn't matter as long as you time it right. The Hounds, again, don't know about the Hounds. Utterly misplayed those, so still will need more practice with them. Kind of surprised they aren't faster in one phase. They're 2 movement in either phase. Decent dodge, 1 armor, and they have 4 health each. But yeah, I'm surprised they don't have 3 movement in one of the phases when their only attack is range 1 that does damage, that is. But I guess that's to account for the fact that they can tear enemy banners to shreds if they're both adjacent to it. Again, if I'd placed them better, we might have been able to see that. So it might not have been as close as it was. As for the construction style, although the hexes are not where they should be now because Styx was moving them around, it seems like a good scenario to me. I like that it focuses on banner placement and desperately trying to make sure your banners stay alive till the end of the turn on the god tiers that have been built up. It's neat. I don't think it needs changing. If anything, maybe a couple less god tiers that are reachable from 2 hexes in. Maybe make it a 1 hex deployment. Maybe. I don't know. If you want it just to be a big fight for banners, I think it's fine as is, honestly. I had fun with it. Ended up rambling a bit here, but that's the gist of it. Hopefully I've cut out some of my rambling a little bit, but the gist is, yeah, I like it. So that is going to do it for Godtear this time. Hopefully we'll see some more of it in the future. Maybe pick up some more champion packs as well to see what else is on offer, because there's a bunch I don't have. Thank you for watching either way though. Please do remember to show your support if you would like to see more. And until next time, ta-ta for now.